Okay, let's talk about our math circle map. You're going to need 3 dice and your math circle map form to do this. You could also use cards if you want. If you pull out the higher cards, the jacks and up, no jokers, just use ace through 9. You can do this as well if you just have cards. But remember, you can borrow dice from me. I have lots of them. So if you don't have any at home, come and see me and I will get you some dice. So take it and you get your digit. We're going to do 3 digits first. So I have a 5, a 6, and a 1. I'm going to set that aside and I'm going to write 561. That's the number I'm working with. Okay, so let's practice is rounded to. You always round first to the highest place value. So I'm going to write 561 again, underline the hundreds place, draw an arrow to the boss, which is the guy next door. It's a 6, so it's 5 or higher. We're going to raise the score for our 5. So that 561 with the hundreds rounds up to 600. Remember, the boss and all the other numbers turn to a 0 when rounding. Okay, now we need to do it to the tens place value. So I'm going to write the number again, 561, underline the tens, draw an arrow to the boss. The boss is a 1. That's 4 or less. We're going to let the 5 rest. We're going to write, we'll do our down arrow because it rounds down, and we will write 560. So if we're rounding this number to the hundreds, it would round up to 600. If we're rounding this number to the tens, it's going to round down to 560. Okay, that's the closest tens. Now, we also do number lines. So I'll do that next with the tens because this seems to give us the most trouble. If we do our arrow, excuse me, with your number line, we have 561. So we would have 560 and 570 because we're counting by tens, right? So this side would represent 560, this side would represent 570, and in the center is halfway. We know that halfway between these two numbers is 565. All you have to do is take your original number and figure out where on the number line it would likely go. Well, we know we are counting by 5s to get to the halfway mark. So it'll be 560, 561, 562, 563, 564, 565. Well, I have 561, so I would plot that right there. Our number line would then show that we have 560. Then I can come down here and I can also plot hundreds. Now, because we're dealing with hundreds, we take 500 for our least value and we would round to 600. Okay, the halfway mark would be 550. We have 561. So if we count by tens, 500, 510, 520, 530, 540, 550, 560, 570. Well, we have 561, so it's going to be about right there, right? So we know that it's closer journey here, just like we have the closer journey there for tens. Okay, so let's go to 24 times as many. So we have 561 times 24 equals, that's our equation. Well, we know that we're going to box this out and use the area model because it will make it immensely easier for us to figure out what the product is. So I'm going to break up each number into expanded form, 561. I'm going to break up 24, remember that goes on the side, 20 and 4. I like to wait to build my box until the end, but you do not have to do that because I like to figure out how many boxes based on, or how many lines I have to make based on how many addition symbols I have. At every addition symbol, we get a line. So the left side goes straight across. The top goes from top to bottom. So we're going to end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 partial products that we'll have to add. Now we can multiply our simple math facts because we're using base 10 to figure this out. 2 times 5 is 10. We have 1, 2 eyeballs up here, 1, 2, and we have 1 to the left. So that makes 3 eyeballs we have to account for, or 3 placed values. 20 times 500 is 10,000. Then you write 20 times 500, so you remember what the equation is that you are getting the partial product for. So 10,000 is our first partial product. Let me move that down, sorry. And then we have 2 times 6, right? That's our basic math fact. We have 1 eyeball up here in 60, so we have 1 place value and 1 eyeball there. We have 1 eyeball in 20, so we have 1 eyeball and place value there. We have 20 times 60 equals 1,200, or 12 hundredths. Then we have 20 times 1. Well, we know that any number times 1 remains that number. So we're done with our 20s going across. I like to work in the same column or row so that I don't get confused to what I'm doing. Now we come down here to the 4. It's got to be multiplied by each of these numbers as well to get more partial products. So this equation would be 4 times 500 equals 4 times 5 is 20, and then we are multiplying by hundreds, so we have 2 place values that we have to account for our hundreds, which are my 2 eyeballs. So 4 times 5 is 20 hundredths, or 2,000. Okay, then we have 4 times 60. 4 times 60 equals. We can work with just our basic math fact of 4 times 6. That's 24. We're multiplying, we have 24 tens, so we have to add that 10 place value back in, and we get 240. And then again, we have 4 times 1. Any number times 1 equals that number. So now we have a bunch of partial products that we have to add together. We get 10,000, 1,200. Be careful of your place values as you write these numbers, because you don't want to go and put a number in the wrong place value column. 20. Then we have 2,000, and we have 240, and then we have 4. We need to add all of those together. I know it's a little squished. I should have started over here, so be careful when you do that. I'm going to make my place value lines just to make sure that I line everything up, and it's okay that I went into the next section. So I have 4 ones, 4 plus 2 is 6 tens, 200 plus 200 is 400, 2,000 plus 1,000 is 3,000, and 1 10,000 is 1 10,000. My total product, which I'm going to circle, ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, after I add my comma in there, I have 13,464. All of these numbers are partial products, are PPs, to get to our TP, which is total product. All right, let's move over to divide by 3. We will take 561 and divide by 3. I'll move this up just a little bit. So I'm going to put my multiplication button, my equal button. What times 3 will equal 5 without going over? I know that I can only multiply 1 times 3. Oops, there goes my lights. Let me get them back on. There we very sorry. And 1 times 3 equals 3. We do our subtraction. 5 minus 3 is 2. Bring down our 6. What times 3 will equal 26 or get us close without going over? Well, I know that 3 times 10 is 30, so that's too much, so I know it's got to be less. I know that 3 times 9 is 27, that's still too much. So I'm going to go to 8 and go 8 times 3 is 24. 26 minus 24 is 2. Bring down our last digit of 1. What times 3 equals 21? Well, that's great that we have an even number with no remainders, because I know that 7 times 3 equals 21. Now remember, if you had a remainder left over, you would have to signify it with an R and what number it is a remainder of, or in its equivalent fraction form. Either way will work. Okay, let's go to place value. So here you're making a place value chart for your number, okay? We know we have 1s, 10s, and hundreds because we're working with only a 3-digit number. So the first thing you're gonna do is make your place value lines like that, and then make them go down like that. And then you just plug in your number, 500, 6 10s, 1 1. Okay. Moving to expanded form, we know that that means breaking up our number, right? Like a rubber band, we are pulling our number apart. 500 plus 60 plus 1 is expanded form. If we added all of those together, we would get 561. In compare greater than less than, all you have to do is write your number, 561. You're going to come up with a number where 561 is greater than a number, and you're going to come up with a number where 561 is less than a number. So I know 561 is greater than 23, and I know that 561 is less than 10,894. It can be any number you want it to be as long as it makes it true. Okay? For word form, again, it's just like you say it, your name. You can think of it as this can be number names. And you can write that down. If you didn't know what word form was by memory, please write number names up there so that it helps you remember. We're going to just write 561 in words. 561. Spelling counts, ladies and gentlemen, so please make sure that you're checking your spelling with those number words. Okay, base 10 array. The first thing I'm going to do is write my number up here. And if you can't remember what base 10 arrays are, we need to use units, rods, and blocks or flats because we're in hundreds. So each flat, which is represented with a square, represents 100. So we need 5 of those. There's 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. Our rods equals one set of 10s. We need 6 of them. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. And then we have a 1, so we need a unit, and that's represented with a 1. Okay, I have done this one for you, so you can start making your own number. I would like you, please, to go ahead and build your own math circle map, roll a different 3-digit number, and fill it in.